Okay, Jason Moomaw, JM on the Fly, and today I'm going to do my lantern fly pattern. These things kind of invaded Pennsylvania, and now the smallmouth bass and the trout are eating them up. So I guess it's time that we get a pattern and tie this thing. Looks pretty complicated, but it's really simple. It's basically based off the way I tie a lot of my foam flies. So if you ever see my large foam flies, you'll see a lot of the same steps that I'm doing in this fly. Let me get this together here, zoom in on this so you can check it out. We're going to zoom in here, get a little light in the subject. Okay, there we go. See that guy there? We got the red, we got some legs on it. Nice little lantern fly. Pretty good realistic image of the actual fly itself spent, in a spent position on the water. Any trout that's been around eating these things will know exactly what it is, or any fish, I should say, because they're kind of catching a little bit of everything on these things now. And mainly the adult stage, when they hit their wings and they're off and they end up landing in water and giving themselves up for food. So let's get tying this. We're going to start with a size 6, 94/840 fly tie hook. Put that in the vise right there. Going to use a nice, strong, pretty strong thread. We got a good 3/0 thread here, and I have that in kind of an off brown type of color. We're going to tie that onto the shank, trim her in, and we're going to be using these guys, these realistic legs. S1, that would be the size. So if you see that little S1, that would be the size. Okay. And these basically come like this. Okay. They come like this on a little piece of rubber. Very easy to tie in. I'm going to snip right in between the biggest legs and the second biggest leg. I'm going to snip right in the center of them. Okay, so I end up with a little chunk like this, and I end up with a couple, what I'm going to call back legs like this. I'm going to tie these back legs in first, and again I'm just going to come right around the nub, catch that little piece there. We're going to come through, we're going to come behind and catch this other piece of rubber in behind here, so that these guys are kind of spread out in the hook just like this. And again, I'm trying to make this as relatively painless as it possibly could be. Pull back this little piece of extra rubber here. Let's just cut that off and get rid of that. And you can see we have 2 legs tied on there, just like that. Work our thread up. Now, this would normally have been together like this. I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to have the smaller leg next. Okay? I'm going to put that on just like that, giving me enough room that these legs sit just behind the eye. And I'm going to tie that in. Okay? So that gets tied in right there like that. I'm going to come up in between the next section, tie that down. Don't worry about how they lay. We're going to actually seat these things then when we're all said and done. Okay? So they're going to roll around the hook a little bit, and let's not worry about that rolling around the shank type of deal. We're going to take care of all that. Let's just get them tied in for now. Okay? Just like that. Just like that. Again, you can come back now and you could kind of straighten them out. Get a pretty good feel for how to get them straightened out. Got a little piece of rubber here again at the back. I'm going to just pull that and clip that off. There we go. Okay, so we have a pretty good separation between what would be the back legs and the shorter of the front legs. Now we need some foam. This foam here is about 3/16 thick, or 1/4 inch, 3/16 to 1/4 inch thick. Okay, it's a thicker foam. And I want to cut like a half, like the widest part of this would be about 1/2 of an inch. Okay, and then narrow it down to about 1/4 inch in the front, so you end up with something like that. Okay, don't worry too much about the shape, because we're going to do something to make this conform to the shape that we want. Using a little threader here, you're going to push this through, and I want that to stick right out the side of the back. We're going to take some type of embroidery thread. Okay, you get this stuff at craft stores or whatever. You see it in the little loops, and we're just going to pull that through our foam, just like that. Okay, so now that's threaded through our foam. And if you've seen any of my other ties, you'll see this a lot. This is really a way that I want to put the fat end of the fly, or the fat end of the, what would be the extended body, out the back, just like that. Okay? If I show you that from the top view, you'll see, there you go. You see that? That's pretty much what we're looking for. We're going to make some nice tight wraps straight down on that. We're going to come around the front, lash it to the shank, and again come right back through the same spot. And is where the fun begins. We're going to wrap our pretty punch material, or our floss, around the back end, just like that. We'll skip a little portion, almost like you would tie a bee, or like my bee. We're going to come around. They have a golden look to them. They have a little bit of yellow to them in the abdomen area. So it's kind of like a dark on yellow, or yellow on dark type of situation that we're tying here. Now we can reach the shank, so I'm going to come right down underneath. And again, I told you, it's a pretty simple tie for what it is. It looks way more difficult than what it is, but it's actually very easy to get this tied. Now this, don't worry about it rolling around the hook, that's going to happen. We're just going to get this in place until we're all said and done. That's going to rest right there. Okay, and this will all be glued in place, even though it's rolling on you now. I try to find the easiest way to tie these things without killing yourself. Going to snip off this little excess piece of yellow embroidery thread. We're going to snip off this little piece of embroidery thread, just like that. So when you're done, you should have a body that you can reach back and flatten and make that thing look fat, just like that. That's your back abdomen. That's probably one of the most distinct features of this fly. Now, let's get the baby latched down by going underneath the foam, onto the shank, through here, underneath, and basically setting this so it doesn't spin as much. It's still going to spin a little bit, but we don't want it to spin as much. Now we want to set the back legs. And if you notice what I did there, I actually colored those legs a little bit with a black marker, and we're going to do that again just to help them. Going to grab our Bondic, and let me get that quick. Going to get our Bondic, and we're going to set the back legs. And the way we're going to do that is by holding the legs out and spread, putting a little dab of Bondic on there, grabbing the light, holding them in the position we want, and hitting it. And that should stay right there. Grab the other leg, spread that. Oh, got a little bit of craft fur on there. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Again, the other leg, nice little dab. Spread it, hit it with the light. And that should stay in that position. So you can see right there, the back two legs are set, okay? So these two legs here are all set exactly the way we want them in the position of that. Now we're going to come to the wing portion. We're going to tie the back wings with this. This is basically a hen saddle, and they have these nice black tips around. This is actually a dyed chicken hen, and we're going to grab two of these little feathers here, and you could pick ones out that have as much red on as you'd like, and I think those two will do the job just fine. Again, the way we're going to handle these guys is, I'll put the lid back on my bonnet. Okay, the way we're going to handle these guys is we're just going to comb back a few of the fibers, just like that. So we end up with a little guy like this. Do the same to the other side, so we can kind of pair them up. Again, something like that. Kind of check them out, make sure they're about the same. Looks like I could go a little bit more on this one. I'm just going to pull a couple more feathers down on this one. And then we're going to cut this off, leaving a little stem one. Like that. And then I'm just going to trim off that little here. So I have a little piece here to tie in. I'm going to tie that in, not on a 90, but kind of back on a 45 degrees. I still want to see my body behind this. Okay? So if you can see, I have that off to a side, so I can still see the body. Do the same thing with the other one. Snip that off. Cut that so you have a couple little burbles to tie to. And put this little guy to this side. Something like that. Okay? And again, nothing's set in stone here because we'll be able to move that before we set it with the bonding. Okay? But when it's all said and done, you can see what you got. Don't worry about the feathers pulling apart or anything like that for now. We could straighten all that out later. We're going to work our thread up through the legs, the next two sets of legs. And we are going to come right over top and lash that down to the hook shank. Just like that. Okay? So there we have another section that we had just come in between these two sets of legs, the front sets of legs and the center set of legs. I'm going to turn this upside down again. I'm going to hit this with the bonding, and I'm going to set those legs, the second set of legs. And I'll simply pull that out, drop a little bead right there for this leg. Hold that out, hit it with the light, and that should stay right where I want it. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, pull that little leg out, put a little drop of Bondic on there, hit that with the light, and that should stay straight out. So now you can see we have the back set of legs set, and the second set of legs set right where we want them. Okay? Now, we're going to put our next set of wings in. Next set of wings, and most people have this if you go pheasant hunting. Pheasant feathers. I'm sure most people seen these. Really makes a nice wing for these. Really captures the speckled and the spotted look, because it has the little spots in it of the spotted lanternfly. That's why it's called the spotted lanternfly. Again, I'm going to tear away the excess that we don't need, and I'm just going to tear off one whole half so I end up with that. Okay, something that looks like that. And this is going to get tied in to this crease, the upper crease. And it's going to be tied in such a way that it covers about half of this red one. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to set them. I'm going to set them right where I want them. So I'm going to take the Bondic, and I'm going to put this right where I want it. Put a little dot here, and I'm going to hit that with the light right where I want it. Okay, going to do the same to this wing. Close that up just a little bit. A little spot there, and I'm going to hit that with the Bondic. Close that up. You can see you can't see as much of the body, but we'll take care of that later. Now we'll come in with this feather. And I'm just going to cut off the excess here. And I'm going to lay this over so I'm covering part of the red wing. So it looks like that. Okay? Something like that. Don't get too carried away, because you got plenty of room for mistake. And again, you did that one on the right side. This one you're going to peel off the left side. So we'll get rid of the left side here. Okay. Just like that. So you end up with this side. Lay that baby right in there. If you need to strip a little bit more off, you can. Okay. Lay that in. Same deal, covering just what you want. Like that. And that could lay. Let's not worry about how perfect it is, because this whole thing will be Bondiced in. Now I'm going to actually pull that into position exactly where I want it. Something like that. I'm kind of liking that. This one here, I'm kind of liking a little bit like that. Okay, so you have a nice little touch of each of them wings. And as far as support, I'm gonna Bondic the one side of this in, this wing. I put a little Bondic right here on that portion, holding this exactly where I want it, and hit it with the light. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this side. I'm going to put this over top, again exactly where I want it. Get that up over. Right there is looking pretty good to me. Get a little Bondic on there. Hold that in position where I would like it to rest, and hit that with the light. And again, nothing's perfect about this. There you go. That's pretty much the over wing. We're going to come in and snip out our butts now. Snip that guy out. Reach in and snip this stuff off. Get rid of all that. And you can see now we have our wings in position. And we could reach in there, we could cut out a little bit of the red and pull that away. Oh, I cut the damn feather off. That's not a good thing. Let me lay that baby back in there and get that Bondic in. And put the Bondic. See, nothing's really a major deal here because you just add it back in with the Bondic. There we go. So you can see what we got there. Pretty much we have our splayed wings back over the top from underneath, which is really what matters with the fish seas. You have your red wing with your overwing. We come in next and we're going to come front to the eye, and we are going to grab that foam right there. Just pull that down and create our head. And I like to let this head stick up so it pushes a little bit of water. So I'm just going to come in and snip that off like that. And you see how we have a nice flat head? That's beautiful, just like that. I'm just going to snip a little bit more off the top just to round it off. And that is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to reach underneath to the eye. We're going to whip finish this off. Reach in, whip finish this off right underneath the foam, tight to the eye. Just like that. Cut our thread. Get rid of that. Now we come up and we're going to deal with these legs. We're going to have one out front, and their legs are a little bit, their front legs are a little bit more forward, almost like the feed, kind of like a praying mantis type of deal. So I'm going to put this leg out like this, put a little Bondic spot right here. Again, come in, hit it with the light, holding it right where I want it. Beautiful. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, the other leg. Come in, put a little spot of Bondic on there. Hold that in position exactly where I want it. Hit it with the light. And now we have all the legs set. And that is the little creature that you create. Now we got a few more things we could do to clean this up. One of them is I take the Bondic, come right through the back, come right up over top of all these wing materials like this, and give it a nice smooth top, just like that. Okay, so it's a nice coating right across the top, and you'll see why in a minute. That bonds all the wings together, puts everything just like that with a nice smooth top. The underneath, everything's looking good to me. Again, if you need to make any adjustments, you can make them now. This leg's down a little bit. I'm going to actually add a teeny little bit of Bondic, and I'm going to bring that up just a hair, have it down a little further than I want. And just by adding a little bit of Bondic and hitting it with the light, I could keep that leg, excuse me, right where I want it. There you go. Now you can check that out. Now we're going to kind of do a little bit just to enhance this thing real quick, and it's really easy. And they have a lot of black in them. So basically what I like to do is I'll take the black marker and I'll cut right over top of my Bondic, right close to the head. Leave a little bit of brown on that. You can see how nice that looks. In fact, if I get the light just right, you can see it even better. Going to turn it upside down. Going to put a little black at every joint, and one black mark right down the middle there, just to cover up a little bit of that yellow. There, now it's looking a little bit more like an insect inside there. Then you simply take a paper, little piece of cardboard like this, slide it in there, darken up these legs. It'd be nice if I should have just bought black legs, nymph legs. I don't know if they even sell them in black, but black ones would be great. And you get away without this markering up then. But it's not a big deal. Just go through with the marker. Again, all I'm doing is jamming that in there, and you can see now them legs are nice and black that are coated. I could put that on this side, I could hit this side of them. And just darken them up. And the same thing with this side underneath. And that's pretty much it. That is the JM Lanternfly. If you have a little bit of if you think there's a little bit too much red showing there and you want to see a little bit more of your body, just cut out some of the red. Now you can see a little bit more of that body in there, or the abdomen of the fly. But there you go, that's pretty much it. When that thing hits the water, they know exactly what it is. It's a lanternfly, and the fish will just, bam, eat it. Pretty simple tie too, not hard. If you deal with the foam flies and you tie the way I showed to tie a lot of my big foam flies, then you really have an advantage on this. But that's pretty much it. That is the JM Spotted Lanternfly. JM on the fly, and I am out of here.